Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. My name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, the future work consultancy that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show. And I'm here with Erin McDannald, the CEO of Environments, which focuses on addressing lightning, but she'll tell us the details. But before getting into the details of what she does, she has a really interesting story to tell us about transitioning to remote work and the metaverse. So the first question I want to ask you, Erin, is what made you decide to deploy the metaverse as a technique to address remote work challenges in your company?
Thank you. There were a number of things that kind of pushed me into that direction. I was observing my children during the pandemic, and they were
Mm,
very engaged in their 3D environments, but they were not engaged in Zoom. And I started to ask why, because
mm,
I was feeling the same way.
mhm,
And so I went into Roblox with them to see if I was engaged, and I became engaged in those
mm,
environments too. And in return, I started thinking about the fact that I could not see my team and had a desire to restore the sight of being
mm,
able to see them. That was the most sensory that I was desperate to have. It have the 2D environments did not
mhm,
translate to me. So I started thinking about the metaverse as an option for our business. We also had a hard time selling digitally, and I needed to
mm.
restore a way to sell digitally. So
Okay, so that was about seeing and having many more senses engaged. That's what I'm hearing you talking
that's
about.
that's correct.
And
Mhm.
it's fascinating that you followed your kids into Roblox. So how did you decide to do that? You just decided that they were checking out Roblox. You decided to see what it would be like for you.
Yeah, and I also noticed that the value they place on a digital interaction, a social digital interaction was
Hmm.
different than that of an older person.
Mm,
When there's somebody of a older generation thinks about a digital interaction, they almost devalue it as if it didn't have as much meaning because it happened digitally. Where in the younger environments, they didn't seem to know the younger generations didn't seem to notice
mhm,
the difference. And so I thought that's definitely the direction we're going, and it's a
mm.
more humane user interface than the previous user interfaces that we've worked with before.
And is that what did your employees find when you started making this transition? So you said your kids
Mhm.
value the digital interaction much more.
Right.
Adults, who your employees happen to be, tend to value it less. How did they start engaging with it?
It was if the employee was a digital native, they were
Hmm.
open to the possibility. If they were not a digital native, we had to get creative to get
Hmm.
different ways to get them to engage in the metaverse. So that we have a digital twin of our office. So we have the
Hmm.
psychological association, digital twin or office, both the same in collaboration and interaction, and the older generations felt less comfortable with that
Hmm.
interaction. And so we started to build in sales tools for them to use in the metaverse, and they became more open to it. So meeting them at a different place and level was
Mhm.
and kind of walking them into it slowly has been really important in the onboarding of this digital transformation for us.
And it sounds like you did some investments into this, into the back end, and into the technology. Tell me a little bit more about the investments that you made. What kind of investments were they? What did you build out?
I own a lighting company. I own an
Mhm.
IoT integration company, and we own a software company. And we did our specialty was intelligent buildings
Mhm.
prior to this, and so we were always interested in a 3D interface. So we took our 3D digital twin and we put it in a gaming environment, and we put people in it. We hired programmers, so we have our own programmers to do this, and we have people that can employ these digital buildings as part of our regular business. So it just seemed like a perfect extension to what we already did.
So let's get a little bit more into your background so that we understand how you came to this place. You came here with certain tools. You have three companies. Tell me a little bit more about your background as an entrepreneur, as a founder, how you came to this place.
Yeah, my father was an architect. I was an interior designer.
Mhm.
I became interested in lighting because it was more technical in nature, and I sold lighting for 20 years. As I went through my career and moved up the ladder, and eventually became an owner of a company. And then we scaled that company horizontally, and now we're working on a
Mm.
vertical scaling. Yeah,
So how good.
go ahead. Yep.
So how did your experience building out the companies to coming to the place where you are inform the transition that you're making right now in your company to the metaverse, what you call the workplace of the future?
I'm sorry, the part of it cut out. Could you repeat that question? Sorry.
Sure. So how did your experience getting to the stage where you are, kind of from your background, rising up in your career, how did that inform your transformation that you're putting in right now in your three companies to what you call the workplace of the future, that experience that you had in the past?
I think it goes down to the way I view the world from a spatial intelligence perspective. And I think that's applied in,
Hmm.
running businesses, but I think it can also be applied in how we communicate and how we interface with our digital environments. So I think I'm always thinking spatially, and I think that's the
Hmm.
one common denominator that obviously I'm very motivated and feel like
Mhm.
we have as a company some skills to offer the world to be able to put these things together. And we were kind of watching the market to see if anyone was going to do it. We thought, well, we know how to do it. We know how to work
Mhm.
in these 3D interfaces. We do it for building controls all the time. It's
Hmm.
just a matter of putting people in.
Hmm.
Um, so that's what we set out to do. Yeah.
And what kind of ROI, the return on investment, are you discovering now that you're building out and getting your team to collaborate in the metaverse context?
We're able to capture the return on investment in a number of different ways, and I find
Mhm.
it to be very similar in the way that real estate captures their investment. The first
Hmm.
one is through our building controls, we're able to make more spatially um, data-driven decisions.
Mhm.
And for instance, to give you an example, we were looking at the usage of our space in the back where we hold all our samples. And I noticed that there were several rows that hadn't been visited in a year, and we found that through our building controls, through
Hmm.
our 3D interface. And I realized that those samples hadn't been brought out, therefore, we're not really selling those particular lines of lighting. So we're making better decisions and
Hmm.
actionable insights through that. We think that it increases the value of our business because we're
Mhm.
attracting, more partners to come and work and more clients to work with us. We see a big marketing advantage in it, in a sense that we can create experiences for our clients to be able to experience in our lighting business those lights. So we created a park and we have all of our outdoor lights in this park, and you can experience them and walk through this park
Ah,
with the
that's cool.
avatar and learn
Mhm.
about the lights and experience what it's like with the light on or with the sun
Mhm.
out or with the sun down. So that's been interesting. And even creating games within those parks so that you can kind of create more memory um, tagging when you're having these marketing experiences with their clients. And, the difference is all of a sudden you can hear the birds and your feet crunching underneath
Hmm.
when you walk, and those things add to the experience. And I think it's often overlooked. Um,
Mm.
yeah, and I think that that it really helps us from the touch points or the collaboration points. It's very convenient to walk up to somebody in the metaverse when you're just kind of hanging out, and ask a quick question. And I dream of someday being able to get rid of my email inbox, because it can be a little intimidating at
Sure.
times. But to think about, rather than having an email inbox with people literally walking up to you in the metaverse and asking questions real time,
Mhm.
it makes it so much more convenient. And it doesn't recapture all of the collaboration points pre-pandemic of having people in the office, but it's better than the standard hybrid model we're working in now. Much
Makes
better.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked quite a bit about clients. Earlier, you mentioned sales for your more less digitally native staff. Tell me a little bit more about how this impacts more specifically the sales dynamics for you.
This is, yeah. Well, we're really excited about emotional tagging. So
Mhm.
this is, just being able to just give those experiences. We sell lights, and in my main
Mhm.
business are building controls, and to be able to have this experiential sales, we're up against a lot of other people in our marketplace that sell similar lights to us. So anything to get the client to help us to remember, or to help them to remember
Mm.
us when they're thinking about lights, is really important. So we're but it also plays into our building controls
Mhm.
portion of our business, because we've connected our building controls to that metaverse, and we're illustrating what's happening to those controls in the metaverse too. So there's a lot of connection. What's interesting about what happens when you put a digital twin into the metaverse is that um, every department on your P&L sheet wants a piece of the metaverse for one reason
Mhm.
or another, whether it's HR and sales and marketing. They all want customer service they want a customer service counter to be able to be available to their clients immediately, and then create a memorable experience at the same time. It's been um, it's been a great journey
Hmm.
to developing this with them. I'm on my team.
Excellent.
Mhm.
How do you think it impacted your retention and recruitment?
Well, I think I think it impacted it in a very positive way. We haven't Our turnover's been very low. It's 3%.
Mm. Oh,
Uh,
that's great.
so yeah, so we're excited about that. And I am also excited about the fact that I don't have any intention of not having a hybrid workplace.
Mhm.
We in 2020 we decided that the world was here and was going to stay the way in a similar way that it was. And then we started planning for a hybrid workplace then. So this is sort of the culmination of what this has become. So
Mhm.
if We were really excited to be able to be home with our families and to integrate
Mm.
work in this different way in our lives. So we plan to stay that way. And I'm
Mhm.
happy to take all the employees and programmers that are forced to go back to the office and don't want to stay with their other employers. Yeah, I think it'll definitely give us competitive advantage.
Yeah, that's what my clients are finding who I'm helping transition to the future of work with hybrid work, that giving flexibility, allowing some employees at least to work fully remotely, others who do well to work fully remotely, who do well to come in, a day a week or something like that. That definitely helps retention and recruitment. So that's definitely important.
Mhm.
But it's also important to figure out new systems and processes to collaborate effectively together. Tell me a little bit more. And my clients have been working on that, and I've been helping them out. I'm curious what you're doing with your innovative approach to the metaverse. How are you changing your systems and processes to account for this transition?
Well, we're trying to create more rituals in our
Mm.
weeks. So I think ritual is a big part of a success in a remote hybrid workplace. So
Mhm.
coffee catch ups in the metaverse. I think the element of play and joy
Mm.
it's a really important part of this, and it was actually a surprise to me how much play and joy were part of the metaverse workplace. So we're now incorporating HR function into it in a sense that we can celebrate employees through the metaverse
Mhm.
and acknowledge the fact that they've had a certain number of years with the company, um, let people know, especially the newer people, that there are mentors available to them.
Oh.
And then we have set collaboration hours. And I don't imagine that to be a policy forever. But as we're all getting used to this new platform
Mhm.
and getting more comfortable with the new policies and procedures, we need to have set hours. So we have set collaboration hours between interdepartmentally within our company um, throughout the week.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I certainly advise my clients to have kind of a set collaboration hours when they can rely on others to quickly answer Slack messages or something like that. So,
Mhm.
talking about Slack messages, to what extent are you using other collaboration platforms besides the metaverse? And how are they integrating
Well,
if
I
you are
think
using?
sure. We've integrated Teams, Microsoft
Mhm.
Teams into our metaverse. But I think that there's still a place right now when we're developing the technology for Zoom and Slack and Teams and HubSpot and all of the things that we're using. So we still have other collaboration
Mhm.
tools, but we're just tying them all into the same place in Stack software. So we have a hub to our metaverse, and it has a community section. It looks like an internal Facebook, if you will, in a
Okay.
sense. So we can post on it, but it also has a place for you to book desks in the physical
Mhm.
universe. And then tells you what the air quality is and the temperature and all of
Hmm.
the things are in the physical universe, showing that the physical universe is tidy, everything is well. And if you desire to collaborate in person, you
Mhm.
can find the days that the people you would like to collaborate with will be in the office
Oh.
and book your desk. So we've created this Stack software to kind of accommodate all
Mhm.
of these things and be a central core around the business. I felt during the pandemic, with all the distributed um, collaboration systems, it confused people, and we needed to consolidate
Mm.
and have this central core to our digital environment.
Yeah, that's definitely important. I strongly recommend my clients set very clear expectations about which tools to use and how to use them. Because I
Mhm.
find also that there's etiquette challenges around, well, how quickly do you answer Slack messages? What about emails? What about, Microsoft Teams messages or Trello notifications? How do you establish an etiquette for the metaverse? What is your technique for doing that? What are the etiquettes for the metaverse in your company?
We're still learning too.
Mm.
We've built in a lot of etiquette already.
Hmm.
Obviously, we use voice
Hmm.
to communicate. So through the metaverse, people can use messaging if they like, or other versions, but we prefer to use voice. And as far as etiquette is concerned, it really is about anything that you would do in the physical universe, we've applied to the metaverse. So
Okay.
if HR would be upset in the physical universe, they would probably apply the same rules in the metaverse. Although we're still early on, and to be very honest with that, is the with the lawyers and human resources about what can and cannot be said in the metaverse.
Mm.
One of the things that was important to us is that although this is the central core of our software hub or digital hub in our environment, that the people, the avatars, do not
Mhm.
have any personally identifiable information.
Okay.
And that was pretty important to our lawyers that it be built that way, but it's
Mhm.
also really important to the employees that it's built that way,
Hmm.
so that your performance in the metaverse, A, is not being recorded, um, B, is not being analyzed in any way, and C, can't be held against you in another job.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that was a big concern. So we
Okay.
definitely have that disconnect between the personally identifiable information.
What other concerns were raised? So besides this personally identifiable information that you didn't expect at first, or that you think it would be valuable for other folks to know about?
I guess most people were concerned about being tracked.
Hmm.
But once we assured them that there was no personally identifiable information, there was a lot less hesitation
Okay.
to come in the metaverse. My business does things like heat mapping. This is pretty interesting, slightly off of our thing, but we can heat map people and should see where in the office they're communing in the physical universe. And we can do the same in the metaverse. You can heat map, so you can kind of find your
Hmm.
collaboration points within the office, and it's valuable information, both in the physical and metaverse situation. But it is something that, where we're tracking anonymously. So I don't know
I
what
see.
person is been in that spot. I just know a person has been in that spot.
How do you find the metaverse impacts team bonding?
I think that, well, first of all, the element of joy and play tend to lower boundaries.
Hmm.
And I think that in the past, especially during the pandemic, people came to video calls with a lot of boundaries. And so and not knowing really what to expect. And so there is that element that lowers those and sort of opens people up to more ideation.
Mhm.
I think it enhances creativity, because you're in this spatial environment. It allows for you to have more or be in tune with your spatial awareness.
Hmm.
Therefore, you're able to sort of build ideas better. Um, I found that for me, I can't apply that to all of the employees, but I can't imagine that I'm much different. So um, I found that that was really interesting. And the convenience of
Mhm.
being able to have access to your team members. Um, I never felt comfortable clicking on a Teams icon to call someone that I didn't normally call as a CEO of my company. It was only
Hmm.
because I didn't know if they were away picking up their kids. We have a very open workplace. We take care of our day, our personal along with our professional, as long as we're getting our work done. And so we have this open environment, and I couldn't tell if people were available or not. Sometimes the green light's on, sometimes the red light's on, but I can't see behind the button. Um,
Sure.
Having people physically, we're not physically, but virtually, you can virtually see them, a person, it
Mhm.
makes them much more accessible.
Hmm. Yeah, I can imagine that.
Mhm.
Now, more broadly, how do you think this metaverse experimental transformation will impact your company's brand and how people see you?
I think they'll see us as more technologically advanced and innovative
Hmm.
in a sense, because we're the first lighting and building controls company to go into the metaverse. So I think that definitely gives us advantage. It shows that we're invested in our company. So I think
Hmm.
just I, from the perspective of the people that are hiring us, they see that we're, curious intellectuals that are trying to make a difference in the world. This this thing was mostly inspired by my daughter who has an autoimmune disease and is can't reach the outside world because she has to be home due to her
Mm.
physical condition. So, and it's really interesting. Her doctor, who is he was a neurogastroenterologist, said that the children that he deals with, very much like her with dysautonomia, have really high IQs.
Mm.
And I thought, what a shame that they couldn't reach the workplace. Because what an advantage to have people like this in our workplaces, this diversity, this different thought, this different
Mhm.
way of thinking. And so I was inspired to create this from that story. So
That's a very powerful story. Thank you for sharing that.
thank you.
Are there any other last questions you wish to share? Anything I haven't asked you that you think our listeners would like to know?
No, I just think that, well, I think that having a psychological association with your workplace in a digital environment can be very advantageous to your business.
Mm.
And it creates mission-driven employees and reminds them of the mission every day when they walk in those virtual doors. So it's not the utopia that is described in the movies. It's a fabulous 3D user interface that we should be looking at to replace our 2D interfaces.
Excellent. Thank you, Erin. And can you tell us a little bit more about where folks can learn more about you online, any sites that you wish to give, any recommendations?
Great. Our website is www.environments.tech. The name of our app is Elevated Environments, and please give us a call. And my name is Erin McDannald, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Erin. And thank you to the listeners and the viewers of this show. Again, this is the Wise Decision Maker Show. My name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky, the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, which is a future work consultancy that sponsors the show. Please leave a review on Apple iTunes or wherever else you discovered the show. Leave a comment on YouTube and make sure to subscribe to the show. That'll help other folks discover the show and help you make sure that you keep in touch with all the latest episodes. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. In the meantime, the wisest, most profitable decisions to you, my friends.